Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my ultimate guide to vampire romance. Alright guys, so today I am bringing you my ultimate guide to vampire romance. This video is packed with recommendations, some of my favorite vampire romances, and then some that are still on my TBR, but I'm going to cover everything from dark Gothic romantasy to action-packed paranormal, so if you love vampires, this video is for you. Now, like all my other videos, I will give you a spoiler-free plot synopsis of every book, and then my overall feelings if I've read it. But we have so many books to cover, so if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these vampire books. First up, we have The Vampire's Bargain. This is a witch/vampire fantasy romance. I've heard really good things. So in this story, we are following Katana Nightshade, and she was once one of the most feared witches in the realm, along as being a very, very good vampire hunter. Well, she ends up being betrayed by her lover, and because of this, she is forced into prison for 50 years. That is until a vampire lord shows up and offers her a bargain. He says he will help her gain her freedom and restore her coven to its place of power if she will just kill the vampire king. And she reluctantly agrees, and I'm assuming it's going to be a romance between the vampire lord and Katana. I cannot wait to get to this, so one of the first books I will be reading this fall. And next up, we have Shadow Kissed. Now, this is the first book in a paranormal vampire romance series. I actually picked this up because of a reading vlog I did with my friend Becky over at Bex Reads, so I will leave that reading vlog in the cards and the description. I will also tag Becky in the description. I love Beck's channels. She is the queen of collabs. And although we used to have polar opposite reading taste, it seems like we're starting to kind of like and hate the same books. So very interested to see how that progresses. But anyway, definitely check her channel out. So I was not expecting to love this book quite as much as I did. The premise is really simple. We're following this girl named Olivia who ends up being kidnapped by a vampire named Sebastian, who tells her he is kidnapping her for her own protection. And he takes her to the City of Nightmares, where humans are seen as prey and as a food source. So she has to decide if she is going to trust him. And I only read this first book, but I assume as you progress through the series, it just is a romance between the two of them and her deciding if she really does believe what he is telling her. There's also witches in this, and overall, I really enjoyed this, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. So definitely a series to give a try. Alright guys, so the next rec was actually from one of you guys. So I recently posted on Instagram a vampire rec graphic, and on that post I got so many recs in the comments, and one of them was When the Heart Stops. Now this kind of gives off like True Blood vibes. We're following this girl named Lilith, and she lives in a realm where they are ruled over by the Covenant, and the Covenant has one rule: vampires cannot drink from people, or humans that are alive. So, because of this, a bunch of blood dens have kind of erupted across the realm, and our main character, Lilith, runs one of these blood dens. Well, everything really changes when an immortal being catches the attention of Lilith and vice versa, and she starts to realize that there might be more to the Covenant than she originally imagined, and also some dark secrets start coming out, and it goes from there. I'm assuming this is the first book in a series, but I am not positive. If you know, please let me know in the comments. But thank you so much for the rec. I cannot wait to read this. And next up is one of my favorite vampire/Lycan series. I feel like I talk about this series every spooky season. The Blood Alliance series. So this entire series is essentially What would happen if lichens and vampires ruled the world and humans were seen as just prey, a food source, and used for other purposes? So throughout all of the different books, it's kind of like interconnected standalones. We are following different humans that are given over to either vampires or lichens. The one that involves 3 different wolves is my favorite in the series. Oh my gosh, so spicy. MFM romance. I love it. But honestly, all of these books I think I've given 4 or 5 stars. It is such an underhyped series. Just know it is dark. It's definitely dark romance. There is some very upsetting things that happen on page. So please check the triggers. But I love this series with all my heart. And of course, I had to include a bunch of books by Karina Halle because she has a ton of amazing vampire romances. My personal favorite is Black Sunshine and the sequel. This might be my favorite vampire romance duet. There is something about it that was just addicting. We are following this girl named Lenore, and she lives what she believes is a very simple life with her 2 parents, and it is about to be her birthday, I believe her 21st birthday. So her parents ask if she wants to celebrate it in a remote cabin in the middle of nowhere, and she agrees because she loves her parents. But before she can get there, she ends up being captured by a vampire that tells her, hey, those aren't actually your parents, you were adopted, and they are taking you there to kill you because they are actually witches. And on top of that, they are vampire hunting witches, and you, my friend, are a vampire. Now, she obviously does not believe this, but turns out he was right. Their romance, so good, so spicy, pacing, very fast-paced. You will absolutely love this. Now, another book by... All right, guys, sorry about that. My camera battery died mid-filming, which has never happened before. So anyway, next up we have Blood Orange by Karina Halle. Now, I don't love this duet quite as much as Black Sunshine and The Blood is Love. However, it is still pretty enjoyable, and had I not read Black Sunshine, I would probably be obsessed with this. But in the story, we are following this girl whose parents were killed by vampires, so she harbors a lot of hate towards them. Well, she ends up being raised by this witch coven that teaches her the art of killing vampires, and eventually she is given a job to go to Italy to this music conservatory and kill the vampire Voltu that Dracula is based on. However, when she gets there, she's actually in disguise, which is kind of upsetting because had Voltu been able to see what she really looks like, he would realize she's the reincarnation of the love he has lost twice before. It's their romance, super epic. Definitely check this out if you haven't yet. And next up is yet another book from my vampire TBR. We have The Hunter's Gambit. Now, I did talk about this book recently in a video. Apparently, this is a vampire version of Ready or Not, the horror movie. And I love that movie, so I have a feeling I will love this, despite the fact it has really low ratings on Goodreads. We're gonna ignore that. I still want to give this a try. But essentially, this is following a blacksmith who ends up being captured by a group of aristocratic vampires that inform her that she is going to be their new queen, which sounds great. They are gonna dote on her and really take care of her for 3 days, but on the 3rd night, there will be a feast in which they eat the queen, which is her. That's bad. So she has to somehow survive and try to get out of this predicament and outsmart these vampires. I'm all about it. It sounds so good and so much fun. If you read this, let me know, what did you think? And next up, we have A Dowry of Blood. Now, this is the Fairy Loot Special Edition, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But I started this book last fall, and for some reason, I ended up putting it down. And I don't exactly recall why, because I was enjoying it. I'm hoping to finish it this spooky season. But in the story, we're following Constanta, and she is Dracula's first bride. So before she could perish from an injury, Dracula ended up saving her and making her one of his consorts. But as Constanta kind of gets to know Dracula, she realizes that although he is very captivating and charismatic, he is also unbelievably cruel, and she starts to discover his web of lies. So she is going to have to decide if she, along with the other consorts, are going to try to break free from Dracula or stay with him. And I cannot wait to finish this. Once again, I was loving the first half of this. The writing was very beautiful. I believe this is the only book I've kind of read by S.T. Gibson. But either way, I cannot wait to finish this. All right, and next up is The Immortal Dark. Now, this is a dark academia vampire fantasy romance. I saw this book making its rounds last spooky season, but I had no idea it featured vampires or was even dark academia. So honestly, I might read this like first out of all of the books on this list. This is another one. If you've read this, let me know. What did you think? But in this, we are following this girl who I believe someone in her family ends up passing away, and she believes that the vampire that is bound to her family is the culprit. So she ends up infiltrating some sort of like dark academia university where vampires and humans intertwine, and I have a feeling she's gonna fall for this vampire that she believes killed one of her loved ones. But yeah, once again, please, if you have read this, let me know. What did you think? This just moved to the top of my TBR. And if you are looking for more action-packed fantasy romance that features vampires, you cannot go wrong with most of the books by Carissa Broadbent. So obviously her most popular series is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I absolutely love this duet. If you're unfamiliar, we're following this girl named Araya, who when she was very young, she was orphaned. She was adopted by the king of the vampires, who raised her as his ward. However, when she comes of age, she decides that she is going to fight in the Kajari trials, which are a fight to the death, and the winner is granted a wish from the goddess Nyaxia. So we watch Arya as she has to align herself with like enemy vampire clans and make all of these different friendships. It is so packed with action. This book literally just drops you into these trials and very fast paced. Absolutely loved it. I actually like the second book, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, a little bit more than this first book, but both books really, really good. Now, the best novella I have ever read in my entire life is also part of this vampire series. We have 6 Scorched Roses. Oh my gosh, this somehow feels like a full-on, I wouldn't say series, but it feels like it was like a 600-page book. This is a very, very short novella, and the longing and angst in this romance, so well done. So in this story, we are following this girl who is desperate to save her community that is slowly perishing from this mysterious curse/virus. Now, our main character is also dying of something, and she knows she's gonna die fairly soon, so she wants to find the cure before that happens. So she goes to a vampire named Vale and says, hey, if you give me a few vials of your blood, I will give you these roses. And he agrees. She believes his blood holds the cure for this illness. Should probably say that. So it's their romance. Oh, it is so good and so cute, and just, it is such an amazing read. I cannot say that enough. Everyone I know that has read this has absolutely loved it. So again, if you are looking for an action-packed fantasy romance that features vampires, you cannot go wrong with Carissa Broadbent. And next up is House of Crimson Hearts. Now, this is a dark vampire romantasy, and it features a sapphic romance. So in this, we are following Octavia, who was one of the first vampires, and she yearns for the crown to the city. Then we're also following Red, who is a hunter and wants to get vengeance on the person that murdered, I believe, their sister. Well, anyway, because of both of these motivations, they end up having to go to these trials and are forced to work together, but in doing so, although they start off hating each other, apparently a bond starts to form between them, and it's their romance. Now, I'm not positive if this is part of a series or a duet. I do know this is the first book in either a duet or series, so if anyone knows, please let me know. But another book I recently heard of and am really hoping to get to this fall. And if you are looking for just straight up vampire spice, you need to read Court of the Vampire Queen by the Queen of Spice herself, Katee Robert. This book is spicy, but I will say I actually really did enjoy the story and the plot. It's kind of buried down deep down there, but overall, it was a really fun time, and it's also a bit of a wide shoes romance, so lots of different options. So in the story, we are following Mina, and Mina is a half vampire, half human, and she longs to get out from under her father's control. Well, her father ends up gifting her to a ruthless vampire named Malachi, and her life changes forever. However, as soon as she gets there, she finds out that Malachi is not nearly as ruthless or scary as she assumed he would be, and also, he has some really attractive friends. So it's all of them as they kind of try to take her father down, and once again, really, really fun. So if you were looking for a super, super spicy, why choose vampire romance, check out Court of the Vampire Queen. All right, so this next book is a bit of an oldie but a goodie. I read this book when it first released, and I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it, but recently it's had a bit of a resurgence. I've been seeing it all over Bookstagram. I don't know if there is a re-release or what's going on, but we have King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. Now, this is a dark fantasy romance following Isolde, and in order to end a war, Isolde agrees to marry the king of the vampires, or someone very high up in the vampires. Now, she fully intends to murder this vampire on her wedding night, but she fails in her attempt, and the vampire tells her, hey, if you try that again, I will fully turn you into the Walking Dead. Don't do it. So it's their romance, and it was really fun. I never continued with the rest of this series. My biggest issue with this book is I love a long, drawn-out romance before we get into all of the spicy stuff, and I love the spicy stuff. I just really want there to be some longing. These two kind of go at it like bunnies from the get, so I wish we had a little bit more of a drawn-out romance. But other than that, I did really enjoy this, and we'll probably do a reread soon. Next up, we have On Wings of Blood. I feel like I've talked about this book in a lot of recent videos, so I'm going to keep this one pretty quick. But if you're looking for a bully vampire fantasy romance that has that whole academy/school setting, you will love this. Just know it is very, very bully. Now, in the story, we are following this girl who ends up or wakes up in a different realm, and she realizes this entire realm is filled with vampires. So one of these vampires ends up finding her and believes that she is one of the last dragon riders. Now, dragons no longer exist in this realm, but this still makes her very important. So she is then arranged to be married to a high up, kind of younger vampire, and will have to go to Bloodwing University and learn how to be like a human/dragon rider and to get along with vampires. The only issue is all of the vampires absolutely hate her, and they treat her terribly, including her fiancé and all of his friends. So she is going to make friends with some other humans and fae and try to figure out a way to survive. I really did end up enjoying this. I will say I was very confused at the beginning of this book. This is a spin-off series, so just know the beginning is confusing if you have not read the previous series. I'm assuming I have not. But after like the first 2 chapters, everything clicked and it was fine. But either way, I kind of wish I read the other series first. But I am so excited to read the sequel to this. And last up, if you are looking for a why choose romantasy featuring vampires, you should check out Forged in Blood by Sadie Kincaid. This is another book I've talked about a lot recently, so I will keep this synopsis very brief. We are following this girl named Ophelia that was orphaned at a young age, and all she wants to do is become a social worker and take care of lost children. Well, she believes her dreams are answered when she gets an acceptance to Montreal University. But when she gets there, things fall apart really quick. She attracts the attention of the Ruby Dragon Society, which is a group of warrior vampires, also their sire, and she is going to have to survive kind of a romance with all of them. It sounds epic. I've had this on 2 recent TBRs. I still have not picked it up. I did download the audiobook, so I'm hoping to get to it most likely in October. My September has just been so packed. I have almost no time to read. So I'm really hoping once things slow down in October, I will be able to get a lot of these books read. All right, guys, that is it for my ultimate guide to vampire romance. Please let me know down in the comments below, what is your absolute favorite fantasy romance or romantasy that features vampires? I love all of the recs I get from you guys. And I'd like to say a special thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Leslie, Christy, Kat, Lotta, and Nerdy. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. I literally could not do this without you, so thank you. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.